Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Dialogue Mash. I'm your main host, Jackson, as always, and with me, as usual, to my right is John, and to the bottom of me is Ian. Ian, John, how's it going? Welcome back, y'all. I know we took a break last week. We're just all caught up in schedule, and it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks. I think there's a lot of new games. Well, some new games come out. Some things kind of didn't come out, and a lot of what was it? Very interesting news that's happening lately in terms of the video game world, right? I think we'll be talking into that in a little bit. But hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a couple weeks. How you guys doing?
It's going. I'm doing okay. Been busy. Was sad that we couldn't connect and talk video games, but we're here now, which is good. Happy to see both of you again. John, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I ditto. I missed you guys last week, but it's totally cool. Ready. I'm ready to talk. I played Vectorman, so I'm ready. We can get when we get to that part of the thing. I'm ready to talk about it because I did enjoy myself. I will cheat a little bit and say I did have a good time playing that game. I think it has some big flaws, but it was ultimately pretty fun. And as Jackson mentioned, there's a lot of news going on. Games are coming up. Games came out. There's a lot of stuff. So we're really excited to dive in. But where are we starting, Jackson?
Well, I want to start with that since we've been gone for 2 weeks. We no longer get to see the luscious Ian background of his fine dining room area. So as much as it saddens me to not see that anymore, it's back to how it usually looks when he's all behind the scenes sort of ordeal.
That's
I
right.
think before then it was usually because of some personal things came up and you had to move some stuff around to deal with that sort of thing. But
Yep,
this is what we
but
usually see.
yep, I've been able to dig the green screen back out. I'm trying to look semi-professional, but I don't want to actually use the green screen. That'd be far too professional. You gotta keep it
Well,
right. You gotta keep it right in the middle.
you could at least put on like a nice like background with like the like an actual fireplace going on, really nice cozy room. Maybe like you're lodged out somewhere in like I don't know, like Montana or
Yeah,
something.
not bad. I will definitely. You know what? I'll try to get something queued up for next time.
All right. Well, I like surprises. I like surprises. Interesting enough, let's talk about some of the new games that came out. Mostly just, I know there were two. There was a Yuden Chronicles and also Sandland, which is like one of the last creations of Akira Toriyama in terms of what he was working on before he passed away. May God rest his soul. Um, I didn't get to play Sandland. I had to choose one or the other, so I chose the RPG, which is a Yuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. It's basically a spiritual successor to the Suikoden series. For the most part, it's not bad. If you like Suikoden, you want traditional Suikoden stuff, traditional JRPG aesthetics, that's the game for you. And as far as like, did it do anything new? Kinda, but not enough to like really make it its own. In terms of the story, I'm about like halfway through it. It's a little on the weaker side, but we'll see how it goes. Apparently, they're probably gonna make a sequel out of it, so we'll see how that turns out if it happens. And have I finished it yet? I'm hoping to finish it sometime this week. There's a lot of things that I like, and there's a lot of things that I don't like but they're like more like niche things or niche things for what I don't like about it. Not enough to deter people from playing it, but if you're looking for a traditional JRPG to play, definitely don't look any further than Yukon Chronicles 100 Heroes. Now, I will say that the localization for the game can be a little bit better. Some of the text and dialogue in that game just don't seem appropriate for the character's like personality in a way compared to like the original Japanese translation or Japanese dubbed of the game or how they voiced it and the lines and everything. So
Hmm.
if they fix it, I would 100% recommend that or use a localization mod that someone like translation mod that's like, oh, this is a little bit more accurate to what is said
Yeah.
per character. So that's pretty much about it. I did hear from my friend that Sandland, if you like tanks, you like action RPG tanks and stuff, you like shooting tanks and missiles and whatever, hey, that might be your game right there. That might be your game.
I haven't gotten a chance to play Sandland yet. I saw a little bit of it. I saw a little bit of other people playing it. I mean, it looks fun. It looks like exactly kind of what I assumed that the game would be. Just action. Get into little like arena style fights with in different places after driving your tank around. It looks good. It looks kind of like 3Dified anime, but like still keeping the kind of like the character design and spirit and feel and all that stuff. Yeah, no, I mean it looks great. You know, it looks like a fun time. Eden Chronicles. I mean, I would someday when I have enough time to sit down and play a game with 100 heroes. I will. I'm
It's definitely more than
keeping
100.
it.
It's definitely more than
I'm
100.
keeping it. I'm keeping it on my list for sure. But it's really hard for me to you know, to sign up to commit for a big RPG experience like that.
I would say, to interject, I will say that I put about the game came out in like the 3 days, 3 to 4 days I played it. I put about 50 to 70 hours in that game.
Wow, you've
Now,
just been devouring it.
I played both. Like I know I take like, whenever I get home from work and I have time to like stream the game. I only ever played it on stream. Sometimes I would kind of like not play it on stream, but that's just mostly to get out like the tedious stuff that is like, oh well, this character has a to recruit has like a story arc line that takes like forever to do. I might as well just do that like offline. But the majority of the rest of the game, I pretty much spent like on stream playing. So 50 to 70 hours, yeah. It's just something about it just keeps me coming back, even if it doesn't do anything new. It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, I'm enjoying it. And I'm still going to enjoy it. I just need to find a time to continue to play it anytime soon. What I'm curious about, though, I don't know if either of y'all know about Sandland. Besides like the gameplay and stuff, is there a multiplayer to play other people in tank battles? That's the real question there.
You know, I don't know. I would have kind of assumed not. I would have assumed it's really just geared around a like, you know, single player experience. But I am just making that up. I don't really know. Completely making it up.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's none at all. But if there were, you know, it'll make it kind of a fun and incentive play Sandland as well at the same time. You know, running into other tanks. It's like, oh, you think my tank's better than your tank? My tank's bigger. It's got more firepower. In terms of that, though, I think last night I was talking with John about just when we were testing out the new recording features and stuff. You know, we were looking at other games that have kind of come out. I know John like saw a couple and he was showing me some. Like, what were some of those games again?
Those games from last night. Sorry, I don't have them on.
Nah, it's all good. I mean, they were really brief. Like it was also like last night too, when we were just discussing things before.
Yeah,
it was like getting pretty late too. I know there was like a traditional like platformer-esque looking one that did like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I got it right here. That one just came out on May 3rd. It's called Cyber Citizen Shockman 3: The Princess from Another World. Which, yeah, I actually have no idea if it's like it's like a remake or what. Like we watched the trailer together. I would actually like it looked like, sorry, I'm all over the place, but it looked like a Mega Man-ish game, kind of. But it was like you play as a guy and you play as a girl, and then like something happens or something. I don't really know. It did treat it, but it also said like play the original Japanese version remastered. Or so I don't know. I don't know like if it's an old game and they just kind of like ported it
Yeah.
The PS5 or what. But it looked interesting. That being said, what was some other games? I mean, well, Stellar Blade came out, and that is basically just like an upskirt simulator. I don't really enjoy it.
Nothing about that game really draws me into the gameplay. I mean, sure, the outfits are cool and all, but it's just like it's another action RPG. I heard the story was supposed to be like decent, but I was like, I don't really, not my kind of game. Not my enjoyable experience to play action RPGs anymore. I used to be more about action RPGs, but if it's gonna be something like that, it has to be either mostly Souls nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. Then the final game that I saw that's coming up, it comes out May 9th, is called Crow Country, and it's a horror survival game. I think this was this one, and like if you check it out, it looks like Final Fantasy VII graphics.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that was like Parasite Eve looking one.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and like you shoot stuff and like, I don't know. It looked cool. Like the visual of it just like reminded me of like PS1 era. and I that made me interested in it. I know nothing about it. I just saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this looks like that's cool that somebody made a game that looks like this in 2024. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Just when I look when you showed me the trailer and I clicked on it, I was like, wow, this actually reminds me of like the traditional PS1 style polygonal models and everything.
Yeah.
And it just kind of it really did take me back to like, oh, I feel like I'm in like the 2000s, the early 2000s again. And I'm just like, yeah, this is like it's awesome. It probably doesn't have like as shoddy of the controls as it looks like, but I kind of wish it wasn't like a horror-esque game because those typically aren't my style of games.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to like maybe check someone else out play it because
Well,
it
you
does
might
really
check
look
me out because I think I might play it.
interesting. All right,
Nice.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. In terms of that though, I don't think there was much else in terms of what other things have come out in games other than like the news that we're probably gonna talk about real quick. Well, I don't know about real quick. It might be like a 20-minute discussion and banter. I won't say banter, but we talked about it briefly before we start recording, and that was the whole HellDivers issue in terms of you need a PSN account to link onto your PC version if you are playing that game specifically. And what I've read and what I've gathered so far on the news of that is that initially you were supposed to like they were already like kind of like briefly advertising it before like you need a PSN account if you're going to be playing this game on PC. Eventually you have to link one up. Now Sony is finally like doubling down. It's like, hey, you need to link your account now. But I think there was like a lost in translation sort of ordeal where like it was bad on both the developer part and the publisher in terms of really putting that information out there because this game was sold worldwide, and now they're actually asking people to make a PSN account, which is also limited to about very less than like half the countries out there.
No, way less. So there's like
What-
60 countries or 30 countries that offer PSN and 177 that don't.
Yeah, so basically like a fifth of that is like only allowable to really make a PSN account. And I was discussing this with John last night a little bit as well in terms of what they said for some people as like a way to, oh, if you have the game, you can just put like the nearest country location to make your PSN account.
That was what. So this was it's not like verified as true, but I read that from somebody who said they called PlayStation and said, I am not it does not offer PSN account in my country. What do I do? And the PlayStation hotline said, just select the country that's closest to your country, which is in violation of TOS and could get your account banned if PlayStation wants to act on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who knows if that story true, but if it is, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know with like how it just does not. It's so weird. If they knew that this was gonna, from a developer standpoint, if they knew this game was going to be linked to a PSN account eventually, and you're releasing it PC wise, and you still sold the game worldwide, so is that bad on their? It's obviously bad on their part for not recognizing this sort of ordeal that was going to go down, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, from what we gather, our thoughts is mostly it's definitely from a corporate standpoint. Like, obviously, John was talking about this earlier. There's obviously probably some guy, executive, some director. It's like we need more sales by having more accounts, basically. I'm pretty sure that's what you said, right? In terms of short
was that.
sales.
So I've worked with executives before in technology, and they can be pretty. They're like, I don't know, what's it called, the Peter principle or something, like you're
Yes.
promoted to a point of incompetence. So and they're very demanding, and their needs change all the time because they're constantly like competing with internally and then externally as well, but internally amongst like the other presidents of their divisions, and then like buying time for the CEO's like favor and stuff like that. So there's all these like inner politics that are going on within like executives' lives, and then there's the outer politics too with like other companies and stuff. But like essentially what I think and what somebody mentioned online that I kind of agree with is that there's probably some guy who said if we have new PSN ads, PSN like new PlayStation account ads, that equals growth. That's something that we can say is verifiably like data driven in that it is showing that we are growing and we are being successful as a company. And if we don't have new PlayStation accounts being added to our ecosystem, we are losing. That coupled with the like surprise success of HellDivers 2, because I don't think Sony ever thought that HellDivers 2 was going to blow up the way it did. Because it's really popular.
I'll be honest, I didn't think it was gonna blow up the way it
Neither
did.
did I. We saw
with
this,
the way
we saw, yeah,
the trailer,
we saw
right?
the trailer like a month or two before, and I'm like, it just looks like you're shooting bugs with your friends. Like it looks like Destiny. Why would I play this? But it's blown up. Everyone loves it. Everyone's enjoying it. And like part of it is the lack of monetization within the game. Like you don't have to pay $1 to like get anything. Like everything's like unlockable by just playing the game pretty fairly. And then like, you know, the co-op aspects of it and whatever. Like it's a really well-made game. So I think like the idea that like this like random KPI is like a driver for like any video game within Sony's like exclusive ecosystem, coupled with like the explosion and popularity of the game, added to the fact that the day one launch, there was so many issues accessing the server that there was like a little blurb that popped up that said, hey, some people can't connect to their PSN account. We've just removed the PSN account feature for right now. It's gonna come back, but like we just removed it so that you could like enjoy the game. So adding those three factors together has now kind of become like a total shitstorm and like perfect storm of like all these people bought this game. There's a sizable, maybe not sizable, there's a percentage of people who will not have access to the game after May 30th when you have to assign to a PSN account. Sony is now actively removing the game from those 177 countries so that people can't buy it in those countries anymore. And they're forcing people to now create this free account that people speculate they mine the data and either use internally or sell to like, I don't know who they would sell to, data analyst firms or something, to then like determine like playtime, what do players do, like average playtime, what do players do when they're playing the game, how do they interact with other, like with the Sony ecosystem, blah, 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 blah. Like there's so much data that's actually like pretty relevant and like, especially for selling ads and stuff. Just like getting people to sign into these accounts, these free accounts, allow these huge corporations to like basically take you, put you into like data form, and then either use you internally to like sell you more shit, or sell it to other people so they can sell you more shit. So that is the short and the long of what I think is going on with the PS and why like Sony is willing to die on this hill for these random free account. Like just there's been 211,000 downvotes since May 2nd. That's 3 days as of this recording. 211,000 downvotes on Steam or whatever, negative reviews on Steam from people who are just like, no, why are you doing this?
That's even more than like Tekken 8 when they started doing like battle passes and stuff. Like when they started releasing all that stuff in terms of like, oh yeah, you got a battle pass now, and you get like really lame rewards. Like yeah, you pay for it once, and if you can consistently play, you can like self sustain because you can just get the currency at the end back to buy the next battle pass again. But it's just like they also have like in-game currency so you exchange real currency for in-game currency for specific outfits that are already on older characters back in the day. So why that should just be a free thing in general. Typically, if it was like a brand new outfit, cool, brand new, 100% original, that's fine. But if it's an older outfit we've seen before, why even do that? And the lack of like customization for some characters, or just in general for that game, is just like it becomes like very. People didn't like it very much, and it's just like the more that developers are incorporating like monetization type stuff into their games, it doesn't pan very well. But that's like kind of like the future of how gaming is going, because I don't know, it's kids nowadays are like so into, they're fine with the idea of just paying for like battle passes or like paying in-game real money for in-game currency to obviously, you know, get whatever else they want. I mean, it definitely comes from like it 100% definitely probably comes from like the mobile aspect of like video games, like gotchas and stuff like that.
But I do want to be clear that this is different than that. This is not
Oh
monetization.
no, this
within the
is
game.
even way worse in terms of
Well, I see. That's the thing. I don't know if it's worse. Like to me, it's a different species because it's not indirectly monetizing the game. It's data mining,
well, yeah.
and it's like adding another like just from like a consumer's or like an interactive perspective. It's like one more account I need to like log into, like BlizzNet or EA. If I want to play any EA game, I have to, or like if I want to play any Ubisoft game, I have to have like an Ubisoft account. Like and there's a reason why they all have these. It's so that they can collect your data. Like,
True. Oh, speaking of which,
collect your
real
data
quick.
and keep you in their like what do I want to say, like in their sphere, you know, in their ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And that's again, I have a very loose understanding of like technically what happens when you link these two accounts, but I mean, just like from the top, right? So this is, you're a Steam player, you're on PC, you have to this date had no reason to link or link a PlayStation account to your Steam account. And now, if you want to play this compellingly popular game with your friends, you go and do that. You get on Steam, click the link PlayStation Network account button, and then link your accounts. Okay, after you do that, I guess, I'm assuming here, because like I said, I have a loose understanding. I'm assuming then the PlayStation Network account just has access to all of your Steam account information? Is that the notion? Because I don't know what direction that goes in and what they're allowed to do, right? Because it's not like you're in this game and this game asks. I'm assuming, again, loose understanding. I'm assuming this is not just only within this game. Sign into PlayStation Network and then like that's it. That's the end of the relationship. Like that's just not usually how software communication like that works. I would assume that it's in Steam. Your Steam account is now directly connected outside of the realm of the game to your PlayStation account, and then yeah, I don't know how the data sharing at that point goes between those companies, right? Between Valve and Sony. I don't know what data agreements they have and whatnot, but that's like you know, in terms of data mining, I'm assuming like that is really the value to it. One is that PlayStation can then learn a whole lot about what do PC players that are outside of our ecosystem, what do they like to do, are they different than our players, and why. And then also, and I said this earlier off of the recording, but I have to imagine, I don't know the numbers, but I have to imagine there's probably a compelling statistic for if you get a consumer to go through the first step of initiating an account, they're on the margin some X% more likely to buy something from you than the consumer that hasn't already gone through that hurdle. I have to imagine that's true. And I have to imagine that's part of the, you know, why the executives at Sony or why whoever is pushing for this, because, you know, they just want, the data is extremely valuable. Having more mined data to directly use or sell is directly valuable. And then if you can get a bunch of people to go through step one, they're more likely to go through the other steps that actually, you know, involve handing you money. That's my, you know, I feel like that's the justification. It has to be. That's not their justification. I did double check, and their justification is something about safety and security.
Of course.
That, oh yeah, Sony can't guarantee player safety and security in certain measures or whatnot while playing the game unless they are logged and registered into a PSN account.
All right.
So, just from my experience with HellDivers, I connected my PSN account in the game. It wasn't like a Steam thing.
Okay.
Okay.
And looking through my Steam account, I can't find anything with like linked accounts.
Okay.
So I don't know if it tracks it, but to your credit, there might be some fine print when you click that button that says like link your PSN account that Sony will look at all of your Steam library and then like anything in interaction in Steam.
Yeah.
I don't know about that specifically, but I can't find anything in my Steam looking right here that shows any linked account information or any like I can't link an account outside of a game.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I said I'm really shaking on this. I am not sure, but just like scanning, even just scanning headlines, all of the conversation is in terms of quotes. Players must link Steam to a PSN account, end quote, and that's repeated from a couple different sources. So again, just the phrasing is kind of what's leading me to think that Sony's getting more than just your HellDivers activity. But
and I would not be
don't know.
surprised. Yeah. I think it's hidden. Like I don't think it's like
sure.
very upfront about it. Yeah.
Which I guess, I mean, at that point, then like, why is maybe they don't have the option to put up a stink about this, but why is Valve just okay with this, right? I mean, isn't this kind of like incursion on their market or on their player base at least?
Absolutely. There's got to be something financially motivating them to be okay with it. You'd have to assume, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, they might just not have the right to say anything about it, or they might have. So I don't know how much control Sony has over Arrowhead as a company, and I don't. Am I correct in saying that HellDivers 2 isn't on Xbox? Is that correct?
I'm checking.
That's a good
I
question.
think it's a PS2 exclusive.
PS2.
Sorry, PlayStation, Sony exclusive.
I remember when Goku came back and played HellDivers.
It's PlayStation 5 only or Microsoft Windows.
Okay, I'm seeing some stuff here from a week ago that's saying that it got confirmed that it will come to Xbox, but
I can see that if it's on Windows.
But I don't know how correct that is, because that's all from third parties saying like, oh hey, we just this leak, whatever. But anyway, sorry. So the the idea I was going to put forward was that maybe Valve is comfortable with this. If Sony is basically taking ownership of this game and has the ability and the motivation to make it an exclusive, and then approached Valve and said, hey, we're more than happy to open this up to you to be distributed on Steam if you maintain the requirement that the users that are playing it have to have a PlayStation account. Like it might have just been part of the contract of putting the game on Steam in the first place.
Okay, so I just did a quick Google search within Steam, and it says Steam. This was a question somebody posted on a forum. Helps and tips. How do I manage accounts like Xbox and Ubisoft and EA that connect to my Steam account from within Steam? The number one message. There is no way to see which third-party outside accounts are linked to your Steam account. That's something you have to manage in the settings of those accounts. All Steam does is provide a link an API.
Huh.
The thing below it. The links are one way in most cases. In most (parentheses all question mark) cases, another service links to a Steam account. In this case, like mentioned by the other user, you can only manage the link from the other service. There's no reliable way for Steam to show which service is linked to your account.
So you
I
have to
go to my PSN.
You have to go to your PSN account and then see if there's somewhere where it says that you're linked to a Steam account.
So I would assume that Steam would not let you just like look at all their data. I would have to assume that Steam, if you are like a PlayStation only game and you want people to sign up and use PlayStation account, Steam's like, okay, you only get to look at your game. I would assume like that is what would, like, I don't see Gabe Newell or whatever his name is being like, sure, just look at all our data, like, take it.
Yeah, look at me playing, I don't know, 1,000 hours in Yu-Gi-Oh! For some reason. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just linked to that one specific game, but even then, it's just like, is that really all there is to it? Because I know I've linked like Konami stuff for when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little bit, and I know there's like other ones out there for like multiplayer.
Well, I just played
stuff.
a Star Wars game, and I had to create and link an EA account.
EA, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, just to interject real quick while y'all are doing some information, there is an EA publisher sale on Steam currently at this time. Like EA Games, go ahead.
Hold on, I got a better one. Bandai Namco up to 90% off on Steam.
Right
Ooh.
now?
So yep, the Little Nightmares 1 and 2, 78% off. Tekken 8, no discount. Tales of
course.
Arise, 50% off. Super Robot Wars, 67% off. Ace Combat Skies Unknown, 84% off. Sandland, no discount. Same with Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. But there's a lot of stuff on here with Code Vein, 85%. You get it for $9.
Like animated Dark Souls, there you go.
Dragon Ball The Breakers Season 5, 50% off.
Oh, that's basically like a. I think what are those games like Friday the 13th and stuff. So you have like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, it's like one of those. You have like 5 humans and one dude that's like going around beating your ass, stopping you from escaping. That's basically what the game is. In terms of that, though, like, yeah, I'm sure we can like spend all day speculating on this stuff and seeing like where it goes. But I mean,
Well,
as
okay,
far
well,
as
let's
like,
make it an opinion piece then. How do you guys... Do you guys have HellDivers too? I know, Jackson, you don't.
I don't either.
You don't either.
And I was for the longest time I was like, oh, you know, because all my friends were playing it and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, both like people I know through online, and then also just people I know from out in the real
world? No
flesh
way.
and blood world with grass and stuff. Yeah, no, and they're like, all those people, they're like, they're all playing, and they're like, when are you gonna pick this up? Like, when are you gonna buy the game? I was like, oh, I will eventually, and I had I was just so busy with other stuff, and like I don't even think I couldn't possibly run HellDivers 2 on the computer I'm on right now for, because it's a very strong computer, but it's also very old, so there's driver problems and stuff. So I was like, well, once I update and I get a new setup, I'll buy it. Now I kind of don't want to, like
I don't blame you.
I have a PSN account, I have a Steam account. They're not linked. But I mean, this is exactly the this is where we started the conversation. This is where a lot of like the think pieces, if you go and read stuff all like Wired and Polygon and stuff like that, this is exactly what they'll say, and it's true. The executives and the people that make those business-based decisions that again always want to like treat decisions as if some intelligent, rational agent is going to respond to whatever, right? And they do all their business modeling based off that. But they just don't get that, like, the gamer, like, not only, like, individual mentality, but the mass cultural mentality among gamers is so very much not that. And they don't understand why we're upset. But I'm a semi-rational person, but I'll tell you, like, for the same reasons, like, I'm being told I have to link these accounts. I don't want to buy the game anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
No, and
you know
what you remind me of? You remind me of that quote from Men in Black where he's like, people are smart, or it's like a person is smart, but people are panicky, dumb, and stupid, and like that's how we react, right? I get that.
That is exactly right. We're being told to do something, so we're immediately like, absolutely not. Let us band together and fight back.
Well,
so that's kind of where I am right now.
I don't think I was ever gonna play the game, regardless of whether that was gonna happen or not. And if I was playing the game, I think I probably would just play it solely on the PlayStation, so that way I don't have to link my account. That'll be my thing. I mean, it sucks that I have to buy the game again, but I mean,
yeah.
not a big.
I see
deal.
what you're saying.
I mean,
could I get a refund
on PSN? I just didn't want
I've
to.
seen
I don't
some
want to play on
people.
controller.
I've seen some people say that they could get refunds, so long as like the person you're talking to is an actual person, not automated.
Gotcha.
Oh.
So
On
Yeah,
Steam?
Right,
Yeah.
well, because Steam, you can automatically, like, by right, get a refund if you return within a certain window and within
4 or
a
5
certain
hours of playtime.
yeah, and then with a certain hours played. But yeah, I mean, I have to imagine. I don't know how easy it is to get someone on the phone at Steam. Probably not easy.
Probably not.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if
Probably
you
not
have,
right
like,
now.
They only have like 80 people who work there too.
Yeah.
Like overall.
But I mean, I guess you could try to argue for for right to a refund because of. Yeah, like pressure, like the game. I can now no longer use the game. If you're in one of those countries that now can no longer do it because PSN isn't available, I would really hope that you get issued a refund. It'd be a terrible PR move if they don't.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at the list that was on Steam. It's like Belarus, Egypt.
Right. I mean,
like
yeah, I understand it's a limited player base, but like still, it's I don't know. I feel like it's pretty bad look for a company if you're just gonna like, kind of like outright mistreat entire countries. You know, like seems like a bad look.
I know, and it just seems like more of a bad look. Like, wouldn't it just be like good if Sony was just like
Never
they
mind.
could sell so much more, you know? Like, why are they limited? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't get it. So
I don't know.
I mean, you would think that they already get a cut of royalty, but you know, people are look at it again. We're people. People are greedy. All right?
True.
yeah,
So-
but that's the thing. Like, aren't they? It's like they're not making any more money. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it'll inflate their stock. Like in the next.
I
quarter,
don't know if
like-
it's gonna inflate. It's gonna plummet.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
The
I don't know.
last
We'll
person
see.
I trust is the video game like economy or like people within it, because we always say, "Oh, I hate the AAA companies," and then what happens? Everyone, it's the same. We touch our hand on the hot stove every 6 months, and it's like, oh, it's still hot. So I hate video gamers because of that. It's just like if we all just had a little bit more self-restraint when it came to like how we interact commercially with these AAA and publishers and stuff, I think we wouldn't get hurt so much. But we're so stupid, we just can't do that.
I mean,
I won't lie. I'm pretty stupid. So
Well, it's not just us. It's like even if we get smarter, there's still a new 15-year-old. You know what I mean?
True.
There's someone who's new who hasn't been burned yet.
yeah,
someone's gonna
I mean, that
burn.
is true. There is, it is really hard to train or influence like consumer culture. You know, like we know the AAA companies mistreat us often, but they mistreat all of us, so it's kind of hard to. And like I know I'm putting this in nasty terms a little
I know
bit,
what you
but you know if so there have been games in the past, right, where smaller games, indie games, that after a game is released, it like comes to light through direct actions or indirect actions that the people involved in the development are like, you know, bad people for any number of reasons, are aligned with very, very damaging, political ideologies, stuff like that, right? Identifiable as harmful to a specific group, not everyone altogether. And it's kind of, it has been historically easy to motivate people, consumers, to just say no to that, to
Except for
ostracize
some
it.
reason, Hogwarts.
Well, I was staying away from specific names, but yes. But well, I mean, so that's kind of, that'll tie into the second half of this like diatribe here, actually. But so if they're harming just a specific group of people, it's easy to rally moral support to ban that, or to avoid it, to boycott it. There we go. Sorry, I was missing words. But these AAA companies, they kind of do it to everyone in evenly, and it's so much like everything else that we experience in consumerism. It's like, well, yeah, it does suck, but it doesn't really suck any worse than what I'm getting from anyone else. So, like, yeah, do I hate it? Yes, but have I been kind of trained to just like accept my role as a price taker, not a price setter?
Yeah.
As, like, I get what is tossed down to me, right? And then like, so that's part of it. But then the other part, and we talked about Nintendo in the past, and what they're the shining example of this. These companies, for each of the things that they do, they're the only ones that we can get that, like capital T specifically, that from. You want Mario, you can only get it from one place. You want like really well manicured, really pretty big production game with a lot of stuff, like a new Final Fantasy or whatever, you can only get that from them. There are other RPGs that someone like Jackson would argue are far better, but it's not that with a capital T. And that's the Hogwarts example. Like, is there a lot of reason to say that I should not, I don't want to, me personally, right? Not every single person in the world, you think whatever you think, but is there a lot of reason for me to say I don't want to engage in this product? Yeah, absolutely. But for someone else, like someone right next to me who I grew up with Harry Potter and I loved it. I don't read it anymore, and it's kind of hard for me to like think about it or engage with anything about it without kind of feeling really sad. So I didn't buy Hogwarts Legacy, whatever. But someone right next to me that had that same experience and thinks all the same things I do, like if it's a little more integral to like how you were raised and like, you know, how you formulated your love of literature or whatever, right? You might be like, well, this is still the only place I can get that. And like, and I'm a consumer, and even though it makes me sad and it like makes me uncomfortable, I need to consume that with a capital T, and that's the only place I can get it. And so like I am empathetic to people that they have those feelings and do those things and engage in that way. I get the resentment for like, you, all of you together are why we will always be consumers and they can take advantage of us. I get that, but I am also sympathetic and empathetic to them.
That's fair. I totally understand that empathy, and like I do have some of that. But you know, like I do think that there, especially that's like showcased with a weird example, but the 2008 financial collapse and like needless spending and overspending. I think we as consumers, even outside of the video game industry, we tend to buy things we don't need, and we tend to buy things that are too expensive that we can't afford. And I think we do that with video games too.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But that doesn't take away from the empathy. It just makes me less empathetic. So yes, it takes away from it, but you know what I mean.
That's fair. No, I get it. I
can see that. I don't know. In terms of it all, it's like we just wrap everything up in terms of the whole situation of hand. It's just like it's nothing new. It's gonna happen again in the future. It's just like how it always is, right? John said it the best in terms of we're gonna still touch the stove maybe six months later, or get burned by someone personally.
I mean,
6 months later.
I hate pre-ordering games. I might pre-order the DLC for Elden Ring. You know,
there
like
you go.
You know, there are still like, you know, I don't feel like FromSoft has ever burned me. I don't think FromSoft's ever burned any of us. And so like, you know, I kind of get it. There's you want to trust in some of them still. I think I can still trust in FromSoft for the time being.
I'll trust
and whoever's doing distro for them. I know it's not. You know, is it Bandai? I'm not.
It's
I'm not
Bandai,
sure. It's Bandai.
AKA
And
Namco.
also, yeah, I can't remember Bandai Namco doing anything like really aggressively bad or exploitative to its consumers, but I don't know. At the very least,
They do some
still have faith in FromSoft.
dumb stuff. They do a lot of DLC.
Yeah, well, they're big enough. Once you get big enough, there's no way to avoid doing dumb
and
stuff
I
with
can't remember the
company,
name of
right?
the studio, but the Baldur's Gate 3 people too. Like they've
yeah.
totally earned my respect in the
Yeah,
video
absolutely.
game industry for like they went out and said we're gonna make a game and like that's it, and there's like 300 hours of content plus no DLC, no microtransactions, nothing other than just 250 plus voice actors to like make instead of like 4 from like Oblivion. So you know what I mean? Like it just makes it feel so cool. So they've definitely
Larian,
won me over.
by the way, is
Larian.
Larian.
Yeah, you're right.
I thought actually there was maybe going to be DLC, but I don't know if it was like purchased or if they were just working on expanding stuff. But I thought I had heard that they were expanding like the number of races that you could choose.
When I said
and stuff
DLC,
like that.
I was trying to think of the word microtransactions. So
no,
sorry.
fair enough. Well, yeah, no, definitely no microtransactions, right? But yeah, I think they might be doing DLC. And honestly, with a game that big with that many like choices of what the player could do, like I get having resentment towards a company for releasing a game with DLC already either completed or like already slotted. Like that's nasty. But Baldur's Gate 2 was massive and there's so much reason to go back and replay it. I would hope that they do DLC, that like if they can have the funding to keep going and keep working on it. I mean, I think that's the right situation and condition that for me to like accept paying for
Absolutely.
DLC.
And
So, yeah.
I'm all for DLC when it's like an expansion,
Yeah.
but not when it's like clothing or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
it's like, oh, I found my other sock.
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Like, that's the sort of thing.
Or is the actual ending of the game, or like an entire chapter of the game that they just couldn't get done in time and they had to meet internal deadlines, so release an incomplete game and then charged you for the remainder.
When you say that, that reminds me of Destiny, where like if you bought the disc, it was like 70% of the disc was available, and the 30% was all locked behind paywall DLC. But it was already there. It was on the disc. You just couldn't access it.
Yeah, they had already done it.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's dumb. And wrapping it all, that's just all dumb. It's all dumb.
It's dumb. We
in
need
terms-
regulation. I'm gonna be that guy. We need video game regulation. We're getting destroyed.
I would love to. I would love to agree with you on that. However, unfortunately, my immediate response to that is any legislation is not going to favor us.
Probably not.
In the long run. In the long run.
No.
the
Okay, we need
phrasing and
watchdogs.
Okay, fair. That can't then be like bought and controlled by lobbying efforts and like the slow and insidious working of corporations to put their people out of their company and then slowly work them into the watchdog organization.
Exactly.
Or
Or
that's
through
why I said in the
bribing
long
general.
run. In the long run, I have no faith in any of those consumer protections working in our favor because in the
Well,
long
it's
run,
got to be blinded, and you got to be circulated, and I don't know.
I don't know either. I get like dream scenario. This kind of like like this platonic situation where a philosopher king comes down and sits atop a grand board of video game oversight, and they are like incorruptible and and unimpeachable. Great, that would be wonderful. You find me that person. You find me that person.
You
Bring
found
them
it.
down.
It's me. Just put me
Oh
there.
god. All right. Well, I think we hit the nail on this sort of topic. Wouldn't say hit the nail, but we dug a little bit further and kind of spread the voice a little bit in terms of opinions and how maybe someone's not following gaming news have seen this sort of things before, and what Ian and John think about it. I didn't really voice too much because I'm just like, I wouldn't really care in terms. I mean, I care enough, but like I'm not in that vocal minority right now that has to deal with that sort of issue. But on a lighter topic, Vectorman 2. I mean, that was one of the retro games that was recommended back in our trio recommendations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had Lost Vikings.
recommendation, yes.
We had Lost
We
Vikings
finally
for
got
me,
through all of them.
Super Star Wars, Return of the Jedi from John, and then there was Vectorman 2 for the Sega Genesis from Ian. Now, I'm just gonna put my voice out there real quick. I can continue playing the game because there were so many flashy effects that it started giving me headaches. But from the 2 stages I played, it was like not so bad. But when it started getting like really worse, it started getting really bad. I was like, okay, well I can't handle this anymore. On top of the flashing. The flashing, and then like,
on top of the fact that the game is dark for like a lot of the levels, the game setting is extremely dark. Just insert like the actual colors dark, and then when you fire weapons, it's a whole screen flash sometimes. Like I totally get it.
On top of that, the camera
photosensitivity
movement.
does not get along well with that game.
The camera movement was interesting.
That is true. It is, yeah.
So,
It is kind of like jerky, and like it has like a rubber band isn't really the right term, but it does kind of like sling at times. So you can definitely feel that.
Yeah, it goes with like the momentum, and that for the most part, I did find it fun, but I couldn't really continue playing it outside of those minor niche things that kind of just annoyed me or made me sick. But John finished it though.
I finished
John,
it. It took
you did
like
actually
3
finish it.
hours, 3 or 4 hours or something.
That's about right. It's not a long game.
No, the stages were very short. Super short. I think there's 22.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, no, it is definitely the length of Vectorman 2 is like it is. It's just easy to die at certain times. So but and like as a child when I played it, I knew like I had beaten it a couple times, but it did take a while to learn and like learn the levels and stuff, and I would die a lot. But I think part of that is just like I've definitely found, I guess, since I I mean, it's not like I ever walked away from gaming, but like at a certain point, I went from these like action platformer stuff, which was the majority of what I did when I was very young, and then like more like RPG and story and open world stuff, which it absolutely is gaming, but it's not as you're not being aggressive on yourself with those kind of games, right? Like there's challenge, but not really hard challenge. Now, after like the other side of like getting into like SMW Kaizo and stuff like that, when I go back and play games like this, like Vectorman 2, it's like I do get why this is hard, but I really think I was just substantially worse of a gamer when I was a kid, because like stuff that I wouldn't commit to memory then, like I just keep tripping over the same crap. Now it's like, well, this is not that hard to learn. Like, why didn't I learn this quickly when I was, when I was 6 years old or whatever? So
you would think that'd be the other way around though, because typically I go back to play some. I go back to play some older games I played before. I'm like, I can't get past this. How did I used to do this back in the day, but now I can't? Like Contra 3, it took me a while to like replay this game again and like get to the final boss and everything. But back when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 6, I was able to get to the final boss easily within an hour. It's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that might just be like learning retention. Like you just did put the time in to learn it back then, and you'd have to sit down and just put the right amount of time in now to kind of relearn it. Is that would be my guess, at least.
Maybe, probably is. Time is of the essence, basically. And in short, that the one thing, there's another thing with Vectorman 2 that blind jumps. It's like I'm going from like a height, and then I'm jumping down that I can't see anything, and there's enemies there, and I'm like, oh well, there goes my life.
No, but see, that was actually a really cool mechanic in the game that they've never really used, which was if you were falling down and you shot down, it would
kind of hover a
slow
little
you.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that was like one of the coolest things about the game. So like even though it was blind, there was like a mechanic built in to like kind of
you can
slow it down
yourself
for
down.
you
Yeah.
To
like
like
it
see
wasn't
what
enough.
was happening.
Yeah, I would have. So, like John, you said some of this earlier, or a couple days ago, and I do agree with it. Like they had a lot of pieces, they had a lot of components that they just didn't do much with. Like that's one of them, and a lot of the transformations, like it's like the one earlier level that has the scorpion transformation. Like you don't really do much scorpioning.
I think you
run.
can walk in the lava.
Exactly, but that's like okay. That's at that point it's just a star, right? That's
Right.
the star power or whatever. But like the whole like the fact that you have like the stinger and stuff. Like yes, there are a couple enemies that you can kill, but it just felt like I would have really rather enjoyed having fun with the power up in like actual like combat or some kind of engagement rather than it makes you faster and you can go through the lava, so just sprint to the end of the stage.
Yep.
Stuff like that, just kind of odd.
Yeah, sorry, I agree. No, I 100%. When I was playing it, it felt like they were trying to emulate Donkey Kong Country 2 with like getting on Rambo and like the snake and stuff, and like they had their own animals. But I only found like 2 power-ups. Remember, there was the scorpion and there was the beetle. Like you could run. You were like
Yep.
You could
Like
run fast or something, or charge people. I think those are the only 2 that I found. Other than the boot, like the roller skates.
Yeah, the roller skates, and then there's the
tank at the end.
The tank at the end, and then there's the falling levels where you're like, like a helicopter, basically, like the one in the very beginning of the game.
Oh, I never really put that together. That I was like a different transformation.
Yeah, I mean, well, like kind of, right? It wasn't like a power up that you picked up or anything like that, but yeah, no, and it's just like a different approach to gameplay, which I do really, especially in those games from that era, giving variety to how you play I think was a really good move.
But what I didn't like was that it was just on a timer. Everything was on a timer.
Yeah.
Like you get a new weapon, you have it for 15 seconds, then it's gone. You get a power up, you have it for 15 seconds, then it's gone. Like I think it would have been cooler if like you took damage and then you lost it, as opposed to like you just had the laser beam for 15 seconds or something. But
yeah, agreed.
I
but
like ammunition.
There was really
right?
cool stuff. Like the tank level was really cool. There was like 2 tank levels back to back near the end. Those were probably the most interesting, I would say, of the levels. The roller skate levels or the rollerblade levels were like I would say the least interesting, other than maybe the digging levels. In that you just like literally, I would just hold right and like jump sometimes, and then you get to the end of the level. Like
yeah,
it's like, okay.
Agreed.
But I'd say the first 12 stages are like pretty heavily just like platforming. There's a lot of like interesting stuff, and then like it felt like they kind of ran out of ideas, and they're like, "What do we?" And like, here's a really short level. Here's a really short level. Here's a really short level, and it just kind of like felt thrown together at the end. And then the final boss just like kind of like came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that is true. The ending does seem kind of like rushed and sudden. I'd agree with that. I think I kind of remember the point, especially when I was younger, when the level started to feel weird to me. I think it was specifically the first level where you can get the tornado.
Dude, I hated that power up.
Yeah, that.
I forgot about that one. I hated
first
that.
Point where I was like, this is even when as a kid, I remember being like, this. I don't like. I kind of don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I can interact with. I think I can like break through some walls, but I'm not like.
Dude, I would avoid it. I avoided getting that power because it felt way more difficult than just jumping.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. You'd get a lot of speed. I feel like it would just like carry you like, faster than you could figure out where you wanted to go. Yeah, I don't know. That I always remember that level as being like, this is strange. I don't think I enjoy this, and I'm not sure why.
I agree. I definitely agree. But like overall, like I think what they did to the game was really cool, and like you said, that I said that you agree with, which is there's a lot of like if you segment the game and like look at all these little things, like the more like morphing into different animals, that's really cool. The shooting down to slow yourself is like a really cool mechanic. I wish that was like more like intended to do.
Yeah.
I'd say the level design for the most part was pretty cool. With like sometimes there's like secrets you drop down into and stuff. Like there was a lot of cool things done in the game. I think the execution maybe was like a little bit rough, but
Yeah,
overall pretty fun. The music was great. The flashing was even an issue for me. It definitely was like
Well, I wasn't the only
it was
one.
noticeable. it was not that it gave me a headache or anything, but it was definitely like, whoa, okay, it's definitely really wants.
It gets in the way.
Yeah.
Even I'll agree to that. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't care at all. When I was a kid, I feel like I probably liked it. You know, you
Exactly.
Just,
No, I think it was a focus. Yeah.
Flashing lights, explosions, all that stuff. But yeah, now it's like, can I just see the game? I'm definitely I'm on board with that.
And I think the coolest thing was the model of Vectorman. Vectorman himself looked the cool. Like he was very cool. Way cooler than like Mario to look at. You know what I mean? Like he looks cool, and like I think he's really he's rendered well. So like overall, I think I scored the game like a low 80.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, like an 82 or something like that.
82.
78. Yeah.
Which I think that's a pretty deserved score. Honestly, that's a little higher than if I was taking side bets on what you were gonna rate the game. I think I probably would have guessed it was gonna be a little lower than that. But I mean, I agree with that rating.
I was feeling good
I
that
the
day.
game
I was
as a
happy.
kid.
I was having a good day. So, the
I
boss
can't
fights
do
were
anything.
pretty like, for the most part, really easy.
Yeah.
And kind of like I think for the final boss, I literally just held my gun at like a 45-degree angle and just ran back and forth and shot her like once or twice a time, and just
That sounds
eventually
right.
her like arms die or something, and then she dies like. And she never even hit me, and I was just like, boop, 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 and I just kept repeating that over and over. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they were kind of like, eh. But to be fair, like, go play SMW and fight Reznor or fight Wendy. Or,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Yeah,
like,
all of the bosses, and like DKC did a good job with their bosses, but like even DKC bosses are not hard. It's just like
well, no, they're super easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the yeah.
just like stay out, and like everyone
Except for
loves
K.
those
Rool.
bosses. K. Rool in which one? Because K. Rool
The
in one
second
is
one.
not. Oh, in the second one, sure.
Well,
He's a
you
little
can
harder.
tell that's one of the coolest things about DKC 2, and it's why I think it's one of the best sequels ever. Is that you could see they went back to DKC 1 and they're like, okay, what was wrong with it? Well, the levels were kind of short. We could make them longer. The boss fights were really easy, and like we could have expanded on this, and like that's all they did. Like they just
Yeah.
made the boss fights more difficult. They expanded the levels. They added more gimmicks, and they just like took what they had as a base and just expanded. And like, to me, that's like, if you want to make a really good sequel, that's all you need to do. And so I never played the first Vectorman, but would you say, Ian, that is what Vectorman 2 did?
A little bit. I think some people would probably say Vectorman 1 is actually better than Vectorman 2.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure I'm in that camp. I think if I remember correctly, so I played 2 way more than I played 1. So my memories of 1 are much scratchier. I don't remember the bosses. I think I remember maybe one boss feeling like I probably didn't have the language when I was a kid, but I remember one boss being kind of jank. I felt like I was dying, and like, and again, when you're young enough, it's just like, oh, this is hard and I'm not good enough. But
Right.
when I'm thinking back to it now, like maybe I was good enough. It was just not a very good design. And the level, so the first game has different power transformations like all together. I think both have the tank, though I might be wrong about that. But no, I kind of think that, like, from what I remember, maybe Vectorman 1, they spent a little more time with what you were doing in the levels. Like, maybe the levels felt a little more intentional, whereas 2, it really does just, like, they felt short and it felt like you just get to the end. Just get to the end of the level. So, maybe if you did enjoy Vectorman 2 and you're really bored and want another Sega Genesis experience someday, like, yeah, play the first one. See.
I have it back here.
Oh, nice.
Maxwell gave it to me.
Yeah, I might. I might play the first Vectorman again myself at some point when I have enough time. That actually
Put it
doesn't
on
sound
the
like a bad idea.
list.
That's
You
on
got
the
a
list.
whole list of I'm gonna no-hit Silk Song. I'm gonna.
Okay. Hey, you know what I did?
You did.
Inspired by you, by the John was doing some Steel Soul Hollow Knight attempts recently, and I was complete like I was just re-enamored. Hey, we talked about much Metroidvanias, and I locked Hollow Knight in as my favorite, which I know is a contentious pick, but I'm standing by it. So seeing John play it again, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do that. So I did the same thing. I just fired up, did a Steel Soul attempt, did it on stream with a couple people in chat who are extremely knowledgeable about the game, and like did a good job of like telling me what what would be a waste of my time or not, just like saying like, hey, probably don't need to do this, so like just go here. And yeah, I did it in one shot.
Are you gonna pick up and
Steel Soul.
finish Radiance? Steel Soul?
So since again it was one shot and I beat Hollow Knight, I kind of want to just go back to that file.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
and do the other achievement, which is 100% with Steel Soul.
Dude.
So not just Radiance, but actual 100. And it's not 112. There's actually apparently there's no like Steam trophy, which I don't really care about trophies, but there's no Steam trophy for doing 112% with Steel Soul. But there is one for doing 100%. But now with the DLC,
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that's good too. But so basically what that means is with the DLC stuff as an option, you then can choose 12% and just exclude.
You don't have to do the what's Path of Pain. You can substitute that and do something else.
Right, yeah. Though I don't know if Path of Pain even gives you a percent, but there's a bunch of. Oh. I don't think it does. I don't remember.
I honestly have no idea.
I don't think Path of Pain gives you a percent. But it's like, so you wouldn't have you don't have to do Pantheon 4, for instance. You can do like Pantheon 1 and 2, which are pretty easy, and then don't do 3 and 4, and then go get the percent somewhere else.
Well, I mean, you can get 100 without doing any of the Pantheons.
You can, but depending on how comfortable you are with the boss fights, I would argue Pantheon 1 and 2 may be easier than going and getting
doing the Fool's Coliseum, which I think was tougher than
doing the last Coliseum, or doing just going into certain areas to get stuff where there's just a lot of difficult platforming with a high cost of mistake, you're just surrounded by spikes, blah blah blah. So I don't know, thinking about that,
dude. I'd love to see that. That'd be great.
All right. I think for us to wrap this up, we finished our trio of games.
Do we do more? Do we assign more now?
Do another trio of games?
I would love
to. Backlog. You don't want to do it right away, but put it on the backlog. But I'm not sure what I would recommend yet, but I'll think about it for sure.
We're just gonna think. I want to see what game. But
not right now, but just think along the lines somewhere.
I would say, yeah. So I maybe want to give that one a little bit of thought, because last time we were specifically talking about childhood. We already had here's the pool, and it's stuff you grew up with. That the rest of us didn't play.
Well, what's our pool?
That's the thing. I don't know, and I don't know if are we just gonna come up with the notion right now? Do we want to sleep on it, discuss it next time?
Let's sleep on it a little bit. Think about it throughout the week, and then.
But I need to know the genre. Are we thinking of the genre?
I think the genre maybe is part of what we're thinking about.
Okay.
I would say the main thing is just can you finish it in a couple days, I guess.
Some reasonable amount of time, sure.
A reasonable amount of time.
I mean, I'm not gonna say 100% Final Fantasy X. You know
I don't want to give out an RPG, obviously, that takes a couple of days.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I would be down for that. I don't know.
You would be, but I know Ian can't.
Well,
no, I'd still
do
it. I just do it very slowly.
Well, what do reviewers do? They play an hour, right, of any game. They play the hour and then they review it. That's all we need to do. We don't even have to beat the game.
I feel like an hour is just never enough nowadays.
Well, okay, we can set the time, 3 hours or whatever it is, but we don't have to finish these games.
Yeah.
To talk about them. You
That's
can say
true.
wow, it was really fun. I can't wait to go back and play it. Here's why. Or wow, I gave it 3 hours and I didn't really have fun. Here's why.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Okay, we can do that. We'll put in a lot of time of 3 hours, and then
feel free to play more.
Yeah.
If you like it, but okay, we'll think about games and stuff then. But and maybe a genre too, as Ian said, because it would be cool to be focused, space themed crop building Civ games, and you're okay,
real cool on that one.
I don't know how many of those I played.
Well, StarCraft maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah, hey, I guess technically, right?
Well, is
Farming
there
that Vespine gas?
Yeah.
Is No Man's Sky one of those games?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
No
Okay.
Man's Sky is one of those games. That's true. Wow.
They are-
okay.
that
so
is
I
a
played
genre.
Two. I played two very different versions of that of that genre.
But
even
I
then,
would
like,
not. I don't want that genre. So
No,
we'll
I-
think about one
yeah.
together as a group. And
We'll think about it.
We'll meet back next week.
we'll talk about it
Good plan.
next time. But in terms of that, we've talked about lots of things. I won't say a lot of things, but our topics that we talked about so far were like really expanded upon a lot longer than I thought it would be in terms of what we were talking about. And the main topic that kind of like leads to all of this in regards to, it's kind of funny how it kind of relates a little bit, especially coming from like the HellDivers side of things, is that we're going to talk about the ESRB rating, right? Or ESRB, Entertainment Something Rating Board.
Yes.
System, entertainment system rating board. I would assume that's what it's called. So whatever, ESRB. The reason why I want to talk about that is like the main topic and why it comes to light is because, like, you know, a lot of days, like, publishers are taking kind of a hand in a lot of the development and releases of the games that are coming out, and they're kind of changing things that shouldn't be changed, or change things to kind of meet like their criteria to kind of appease their stockholders, most likely. And the reason this comes up is because the recent game that came out, like Stellar Blade, it kind of had like a hand in terms of like, we don't know if it was the publisher side of things or the developer side of things, of censorship on a couple of the skippy outfits, because that's basically, if you've seen the game Stellar Blade, you know what I'm talking about when the game is very, very revealing in some aspects.
It's definitely got some fan service.
Yeah,
Is
definitely a
what
lot
we
of
can
fan
call it.
service. And there were a couple outfits that before like the day one patch came out, it was like a little bit more fan servicey. They show a lot more cleavage on the main character, Eve. And then there's a day one patch that kind of like patched it up, and people were saying that it's probably because of Sony or probably because of the developer. We don't know exactly. But the developer responded by saying, well, this is what we intended for the final outfit to look like, but is that really the case, or he's just saying that, or are they just saying that to appease the publisher, when in general maybe it was the publisher that wanted to appeal to their stockholders a little bit more in terms of, you know, selling the game in an appropriate way. And I bring this up with the ESRB rating because, or the rating services for video games. Like, what's the point of even having a rating system, like how you would have movies, if you're going to change something within it, right?
I mean, so we talked about this a little bit before. I think there's a lot of different situations where like the rating isn't.
It's not like the end all be all thing, but if it's
Yeah,
there,
and
you should know what's in there.
Right, and it's also I do think that it's so you can right. I don't know exactly how they do the ratings, but it's not the rating is not ever going to perfectly and completely explain what's in the game. So you can slip into a, you know, maybe not an everyone rating, whatever, but you know, T for teen, whatever, right? You can slip into like this is mostly appropriate, but it's got like a little bit of stuff, maybe a little blood, maybe a little whatever, and you can kind of like finesse the ways you do different things to kind of slide into that rating, even if stuff is maybe a little less appropriate than other games with the same rating. Now, on the surface, whatever, that's fine, and in individual households, maybe a parent or parents or whatever aren't gonna like a game for their kids, and they'll say, don't play that, whatever, right?
Right.
That's all fine. From the standpoint of the developer and then the publisher, if a developer releases a game through a publisher and then the game gets pushed back because of like the specific type of content that's in it and why it's you know, getting a rating, or, you know, like if it's like certain kinds of violence, or, you know, certain language or whatever, right? And from the publisher's standpoint, they get pushed. They're a company, right? So let's not pretend they're that moral or whatever, but they get pushback from people and groups, and then they say like, well, this is not, like, we don't want us and our company to represent or support like specifically this kind of content, but it's only like a sliver of your overall product, so like we can slice it out, and then, you know, and then the product is appropriate enough for our release, right? That's from the company side an argument that they could make. There's a question then of, do they have the right to do that with or without the developer's consent? Because I think that there's like a publisher can come back and say, hey, we like this is uncomfortable, like this is going to cause a problem. Will you change it? And the dev can say yes or no. And like I don't see anything wrong with that at all. If they're doing it with developer consent. Without consent, I think one of the things that Jackson you and I had talked about a couple days ago was certain games. It was maybe the upskirt one that I forgot the name of already.
Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade. It might have been that one specifically that you were saying like it was being released in other countries and the countries had put pressure on like, okay, yes, release this game here, but you got to change this outfit or you got to change this other thing and whatnot. And like at that point, I'd still say like consent.
I think it's funny
consent's key or is king. Like if I would rather them go to the dev and say, hey, you made this. This is yours. This country wants you to change this so that it's considered like acceptable for their cultural standards, and let the developer say either yes or no. I guess don't release it in that country. But from a financial standpoint, no publisher is going to give the developer the right to let them not make money,
Right.
So like
I just think it's funny because there's other outfits that are just as egregious as the one that's just covering up whatever it was, cleavage, I guess. And I think I just think it's hilarious in terms of that. The main thing is that going into that as well, because what are like other examples? This is what I wanted to ask you. Like, do you think that there are other examples of we obviously seen other examples of like publishers taking a step in to change something within a game as it was releasing. The thing is, I just don't remember which ones exactly. I know a lot of them do like outsourcing to like for like other things for like localizations or even there's something with like one of the superhero games, like there's like a specific a Suicide Squad, whoever did like some kind of outsourcing to another group, data analyst.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's like the studio that works behind that or something. Like there's like a big, like if they made like a Steam group where it's like don't buy this game if it's made or if they had like some kind of backing from this specific team or something. But that's not that's a completely different story. I just thought that was funny that they did that, and there's like 80,000 people in that group on Steam. But as far as like examples of like games where a publisher have had that sort of hand in changing something on a game's like release, I don't exactly remember how many of them did that. And of course, like ESRB ratings, I don't think it related too much to that one specifically, but it kind of just something to kind of tag that in as like an opener for me to talk about, because I mean, obviously, back in the day, the reason why even ESRB rating even existed is because of Mortal Kombat initially. If you guys ever played like the original Mortal Kombat, obviously there's no blood in it. Oh, except for like maybe the Genesis version, you can put a cheat code in there. Yeah.
The Genesis version. So the Genesis version had blood, even without the cheat, but it was, if I'm remembering correctly, I played more Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate specifically for the Sega Genesis, which was like an arcade port, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, I believe it had blood just by default, but then there was a secret code that would unlock its like extreme level of gore and stuff like that, which I don't remember what they called it, but there was like it had some special name. That's what I remember. I know the SNES version did not have any blood at all, and there was no code to unlock it. It was just weird dust puffs or whatever, sweat, something silly. Yeah. So, well, so you started by saying you thought that like there's what it was they were choosing to censor or change or whatever for the localized release in Stellar Blade was just what seemed silly or whatever. But I mean, again, they're trying to push conformity with some cultural standard of their own. I mean, again, we're talking about releases in international releases in other countries, and they've got stuff that they do and don't want for specific reasons. And again, I'm kind of fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'd be
That's
more
a fair
fine
point
with
if that's the way they're going about it. I just think
that was my take on what was happening there.
Yeah. Because I remember just initially there was a tweet from the developer saying we're releasing the same uncensored version. I don't know what entails in the uncensored version when they say that of the game. To the rest of everyone will get the same version. So I was just like, I think it's just weird that there was that day one patch for. I don't know if it was just like U.S. or like other countries as well. I think it was all the same games. So I would assume that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, I assume so. I assume so as well. Again, I'm like I think my position on that, on changing content for ratings and whatnot, like so there's changing content for the rating, right? I feel like that's a step one thing. Like you're targeting a certain ESRB rating. We could have a conversation about whether or not ESRB ratings are reasonable, and like, or if the rubrics that they use are reasonable or consistent. They're probably not, but I don't really know. But again, if you're the developer and you're trying to target something, great. If you're the publisher and you are trying to compel the developer to do that, again, if the developer is willing to play along, also great. But if you take the product and then like go pass it to someone else, if the developer is like, no, look, I made what I made, I don't really want it, I don't want to make these changes, and then you take it from them and give it to someone else to have them change things, like I'm not as happy about that. I'm really not, but it is kind of the end of it. Like I'm not that happy about that, but there is a, the developer is the one that made the thing, but you go into the relationship with the publisher and you agree to a certain amount of like rights and responsibility between the parties. So I don't know, it depending on the situation and what it is, I could have, I feel like, different feelings about how much I would accept an action like that, I guess.
That's true. I think I was talking with John yesterday, and while we were like doing like a pre-check of the recording and stuff, I asked John, like, do you think like a lot of like the future now is like publishers are just gonna keep putting their hand in AAA games to change things to conform to what they want as standards, and continue to do so, instead of just letting it be free, and doing whatever they want. Like look at Baldur's Gate 3, they're very successful in what they're doing without any like real backing of like a AAA publisher.
So is it the publisher, or is it the ESRB?
No, I was just using ESRBB as an intro way into this sort of.
Gotcha. Well, so have you guys ever heard of the game called D? Came out in 1994, 1996.
D?
When? 95. Excuse me, 95. By Kenji Eno via PlayStation. What happened was, it's a game. It's like a horror game.
Oh, yeah. I do know this game.
Yeah, so he essentially knew that the publisher would not be okay with the violence and the themes in the game. So he created a quote-unquote clean version and intentionally went beyond this deadline. Because then, like, one of the requirements is, like, if you didn't meet a deadline, you had to, like, fly from Japan to the United States and, like, hand deliver your game to, like, the U.S. manufacturers. So he did that with the clean version to the Japanese people. They approved his clean version, and then on the flight over, he swapped it for, like, the actual game, which was, like, violent and, like, gory and, like, would never get approved.
Yeah.
And got that published.
Wow.
Because, like, he, like, literally did that. There's a lot more to his story because, like, Sony screwed him over with, like, how many units they manufactured and blah, blah, blah. But, like, essentially, as a creator, to get around the publisher's, like, demands for his artistic vision, he essentially lied to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like, essentially, like, it's like corporate espionage. Like, I mean, that has to be a breach of contract. I cannot imagine he didn't get sued for that.
I don't know what happened. Well, specifically about that, I don't know what happened, but I do know that because of like the whole thing, he said he would never work with Sony again and released everything else on Saturn.
Ah, gotcha.
It sounds like that where I'm like, okay, like, yeah, okay. Publishers, you should probably have a hand in, like, doing something with that in terms of... But that's, like, you have to, like, verify more checks, right? It's just, it kind of... That's pretty smart of him how he did that to get around the system. I will say that. But that's just because, it's early days still. Video games have a really much harder time to be properly checked and stuff. So, one, I mean, I applaud that they show the loophole in the thing. At the same time, like, it's really messed up.
Well, I mean, it's not really a loophole so much as he just, like, swapped it out. Like,
Yeah.
it was... He used, like, the penalty of having to hand-deliver the game as, like, a way so that he could then change the game and, like, not... And, like,
Right.
basically lie to the people who said they would publish this game. But like, tying that all together, I guess, where does artistic vision end and, like, cooperation within the
publishers.
ecosystem of like, publishing a video game begin? And, like, where does that end? Where, like if you see, like, a TV show and they're, like, on the TV show, they're, like, pitching a TV show, like in a sitcom or something. The producers at the network are always like, you have to, like, play ball. Like, if you want something to, like, get done, like, you have to listen to our ideas too and, like, compromise. So, like, where does that line end? And I think what you're alluding to, Jackson, is, like, probably some sort of compromise that had to happen between the developer and the publisher in terms of their artistic vision and what was commercially viable, according to the people they were working with. So I guess my question is, like, where like, everyone has a different line for that. Some people
Right.
will not compromise at all, and other people will probably compromise too much. That's probably where we're probably moving into, I would say, more and more of what I've seen in video game industry, more and more of what's safest. What's the safest thing? And when I mean safe, I mean return of my dollar. How am I going to make my money back? And then some. That's what I want. That's what we're going to do. And I think artistic vision falls away. We don't see artistic vision as much, and we see more, what's my return?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that, and I think that is obviously or I shouldn't say obviously, but that's the pressure to, like, behind why any publisher wants to make these changes, like, to go outside or past what the developer wants to do a lot of the time. And yeah, that's they have a, they believe or whatever, their team assesses and says, oh, this is gonna, having this content like this is gonna get us on the wrong side of, certain, like, external forces. Parents aren't gonna let their kids buy it, or, like, these groups are gonna, like, really push against it and make a bad, like, splash about it, and that'll affect sales. And then they want to, trim around and reshape so that they get the best return. And that's, I mean, that sucks from the standpoint of games as of media as art, right? That sucks because someone else had the vision and you're just trying to trim away at it to make sure that your dollar gets back to you better. From the, I don't know.
Kind of ties back into, this is not the artistic vision, but it kind of ties back into the HellDivers one.
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
The artistic vision of playing with other people is
gone. And I'm sure the HellDivers team, like the developer, wasn't sitting around going, gee, I really hope that they make all these players attach their PSN accounts to their Steam account. Like, there's no way. They don't want that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. In order to make these things, and, like, in order to make games, period, there has to be money to make them, and to have money to make them, you got to make a return on them. So, I'm not defending. I don't want to support a publisher screwing around and changing someone else's game, but I also understand. Like, I know that it's, I understand why it happens. I would hope that they, exercise all due restraint and, like, only do it if they absolutely have to, and also ask the developers first. That's again always the preference, but I don't know.
Is there
I understand it.
Is there any major company other than, like, the major publishers themselves that publish their own games? It's like, other than, like, Nintendo and, like, Microsoft and, like, in-house games like that. Is there, like, someone who's, like, just bypasses these publishers and so they can publish whatever they want? Especially with like Steam and stuff, I feel like you could do that now.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't really know. For like for very small indie games and stuff, like you just publish yourself, right? Like if all you want is like a small, put it on Steam for $5 and that's it. That's the end of the story. Then I assume that happens all the time. But you're talking about like bigger production than that. Like you're talking
Like
about
Lorien.
right. Yeah. So who did the publishing for Baldur's Gate 3?
I don't know.
actually know.
I think it
But
was
I
a
have-
Polish.
Oh, was it
publisher.
Polish? There's
Yeah.
a lot of like they like the
Actually,
Witcher. people and
Larian
stuff.
is listed as both the dev and the publisher.
See, I think that's like the next step in evolution is like these large publishers kind of go to the wayside, especially with like the online games the way they are now, as opposed to like cartridge games back in the day, and they just they self-publish, then they can control the content.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously though, like, so that's great when that works, but it doesn't work for everyone. Like if you don't have the size, you don't have like a strong like business and like whatever, like corporate outreach
Logistical,
department. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. You don't have a logistics team to figure out like I mean, so much stuff is just digital. Like you don't even need a physical release. But yeah, you need just like if you do a physical release, you have to have someone to coordinate that, and know that you're doing all of that well and that you're not going to get taken advantage of, and have a legal department. I mean, I'm sure they have a legal department already, but
Yeah.
or at least
Well, you also
lawyer.
gotta remember the history of like Baldur's Gate is that originally they were actually developed by BioWare. So
Was the first one was BioWare?
it was BioWare and some studio.
Did the people of Larian like quit and form their own company? Is that how like the guy from
Oh yeah, it was
from
BioWare.
Path of Exile, like he worked at Blizzard on Diablo 2 and then quit and started his own company.
Well, looking from the Wikipedia, no, not the greatest
Yeah.
place to source things, but
I have it open right now too.
First off, it wasn't Poland; it was Belgian. It was founded and developed, or the developer and publisher was founded in 1996. So it's been around for quite some time.
Larian?
Yes, and they're
Yeah, they've
mostly
been around.
Yeah.
yeah, they've been around for quite some time. What I remember them for was, I think it was
Divinity.
Divinity. Yeah, Divinity:
Yeah.
Original
Which is
Sin.
a fantastic game, both of them.
Fun
Yeah.
game.
So so there's the so John, I assume the ones you mean are Divinity: Original Sin.
Yes.
Which both of those, Divinity: Original Sin, the original and director's cut, both extremely solid, and 2 is a fantastic game. But there is Divinity was around long before that. There's like the old Divinity
Oh,
games, which
Divine!
are more,
I'm looking at that right here. I've never
which are
seen these. Yeah.
more like the old Baldur's Gate games or Diablo, what like that style, that era of like ISO ARP. Well, ARPG is not a good term, but you get what I mean. Yeah, they were those kind of games.
Gotcha.
It's really interesting to think about, though, and like I think self-publishing is fine. You look at like someone like a prime example would be something, and it's not like super like crazy or anything, but the person that made Stardew Valley, self-published, self-made, completely made its own engine and everything. That game turned out to be way more successful than
Oh yeah,
anything.
absolutely.
And he's still making updates for the game here and there. I think it recently had an update in March.
Great.
Yeah,
Added
there
a
was a
bunch of new
1.6
content.
update. Yeah.
Which also I think they said this is the final update. And I was like, well, hey, I was joking with a friend of mine. I was like, well, hey, they finally did the final update, so maybe I should finally play Stardew Valley.
You
I
haven't played?
Yeah.
You haven't
Nope,
played?
I've never played Stardew Valley.
Dude, play tonight. You're gonna farm. You're gonna make so many. What are they called? Parsnips, and then you're gonna like
Corn.
Man, I really wish I got a cow right now so I could make milk. You're gonna fall down the hole. You're gonna go mining every day and be like, how deep am I gonna get in the mine today? You need to-
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. But no, so I was joking. Maybe I should finally play it because it's the final update. And my friend said like that. This is not the first time they've said that.
Yeah,
this is
that's
the
not the
final
first
update.
time. I remember when
that guy's from
1.5 came
Seattle
out.
too. I think I
Oh,
knew.
yeah?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
knew someone who knew him.
It's funny because it said the same thing for like 1.5. Like, this is supposed to be the final update. No.
Dude, that's
1.6.
every. How many times did Barb say I'm never making a ROM hack again? You know, like it happens.
Of course.
It's just that granted, like a couple years have probably gone by since that final update, quote quote final update, but sometimes things just come around. It's like, oh, you know what? I think I can add a couple new things again and make things, new things as well. And just that's still fine. I have nothing wrong with that. And you can call a final update and not work on it for a couple years and then come back to me. You know what? Let's revitalize something. That'd be cool. But yeah, Stardew Valley is one of those choices where it's like self-published, self-made, even the engine and everything is like, okay, well that's really cool. Now, I don't know, but like bigger games, talking like standards of like Baldur's Gate 3 style, even though they initially were made by BioWare and stuff, but because you look at Stardew, it's like, oh, I applaud for everything he made because he made all the assets, all the arts, and everything. He's come a long way in terms of what he's made, but it's not like in terms of like 3D modeling and stuff like that. That obviously takes more time, right? And there's all the voice acting and all that. It's interesting to think about how where do we put the beginning line of like, does this meet the criteria that we're looking at for what we're talking about? Or I will obviously include the person, even if the game looks like it's simply made from like pixel 2D, even though there's a lot of backing work into it. As a self-publisher, I think that's good. You don't have to like worry about any big corporation like butted into your own game that you made out of pure heart and joy. And
well, yes and no. So I've heard stories of like if you want to sell your game on Xbox, they will sometimes try to bully you into setting a price or like being a part of the what's it called, the what's that $15 a month
Xbox
the
Live.
Game Pass?
Yeah, the Game Pass.
Oh, the
so
Game
they'll
Pass.
like bully you, like, oh, do you want to like sell on Xbox? You have to sell on Game Pass, or you have to sell your game for $29.99 or whatever if you want to sell on Xbox. I've heard that they do that.
That's fair, but then you just don't have to. Like, you're I guess in like a sense for like a self-publisher, if you're already releasing on PC, I think you're typically fine because that's what the general market's at anyways nowadays. It's PC gaming. Like, let me ask you a question. Other like outside of streaming, when was the last time you actually used your console? And I'm not talking like the Super NT or anything. I'm talking like legitimate console.
Nintendo Switch. Lindsay and I play it not every night, but pretty frequently. We'll play Tetris or something.
Okay.
I used to use my Switch a lot for just like various things, especially when I was traveling, when I was flying, I would take my Switch. But after a while, I stopped taking my Switch and just started bringing my Pocket.
There you go.
I would rather play like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance stuff. No, I don't know. Like I have a PS5. It's right here on my desk. I can't remember the last time I used it. I there was a while that I was using it off stream. I don't even
$500 paperweight.
Yeah, something like that. I was playing the Demon Souls remake. Like I was actually doing that, and it was fun.
You should play Broforce on there. It's like $2.
Broforce. Oh, I used to have Broforce on my PS4. Yeah, I remember Broforce. That was like a PlayStation Plus free game or something at some point. Yeah. But yeah, no, like but it's been months. And however, because I assume the comparison is like, okay, you're not using your console, but like you're still gaming. Outside of stream, I don't game a lot when I'm like when I'm not streaming. And if I wasn't so busy, I would. I absolutely would. But I am too busy right now.
I mean, I stream 8 hours a day, so I don't really have much time outside, and I don't want to play video games when I'm done. When I'm done, sometimes I'll play like Gungeon for like an hour or 30 minutes or something. But like, Lindsay will play Elden Ring for like 2 or 3 hours because she's worked all day and she comes home and she wants to like do something. I don't do that. So like to your point, I'm not really. Well,
yeah, in your case, like you're already gaming like 8 hours.
We might not be the best people to ask, but you are 100%. I was just looking it up. 1.8 billion PC users are gamers. 151 million PlayStations. There's some overlap. 63 million Xbox gamers and 87 million Nintendo people. We won't count mobile gaming, but majority of people, obviously, like, it's at least 1.8 billion are on PC, and that they all might overlap onto the other consoles as well. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Which
a lot of
is-
people.
Yeah. That's a lot
You're
of people.
already spending
Like,
so much
They're
time.
not even close in consoles. Like, not even close. Like,
Yeah.
10 times, 20 times less for the most consoles. So
Yeah, I mean that's wild. I mean, like, Nintendo will always be Nintendo. I don't know if there's like a sunset for the Xbox and PlayStation. Like, at a certain point, like I'm glad that they exist because I think, well, at least historically, they've always been a more affordable way to get a better quality like game experience than
it's a
you
shitty
could unless you
computer
could get a
that's
right.
good at video games.
So like if you had the money to get a really nice computer, then you could play, you know, get almost every game for a while. There's a period where this was not true at all,
Yeah.
but you know, after a certain point, it's like you can play almost every game that's available on these consoles on a computer as long as it's strong enough and have a good experience. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like, you know, with, I'm not really sure. I'd have to look at like performance standards and metrics, and then like what is the dollar buy in terms of a computer. But I'm just wondering at some point if that's just not going to be, like, if that's not going to corner, or like I shouldn't say corner, garner enough of a market to be reasonable.
Well, I think as of right now, it is like $500 for 4K, 60 frames per second. Like, what you need to buy in a computer to do that is 3 times that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I believe you. This is I'm definitely at a point where like I don't know because I haven't looked at prices in a bit. I know a couple years ago that was absolutely true just because of the
COVID, whatever. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and not just COVID, but like a lot of inflationary pressure on like stuff like graphics card, anything that used a semiconductor, like, you know, and that was for a lot of different reasons, crypto related things being one of them, but there was like a lot of just pressure, a lot of demand on that market. So if you wanted to put together a new computer with a strong graphics card, you had to have serious money.
I think
some
a
of those prices have
4090
cooled.
was $4,000, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, a lot of those prices have cooled a lot since
Yeah.
like 2019, the 2019 to 22 range. But
here's
yeah. Well, anyway,
The crazy shindig, the crazy shindig about that is that you don't even. You're thinking from like a maximum, like, oh, I get the crispiest graphic settings to make it look nice, but when on average, you don't even need that. It's probably you can probably get a pretty decent rig for middle of like a 1 to 2, and
Yeah,
like
like that-
and it'll last you for like a long time.
yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I can't run everything on like the laptops that I have, but like, you know, the smaller, I call it a lighter weight machine, but like the Razer Blade 14, which is, you know, like a small Razer product, like I can almost this little guy right here, I can run almost anything that I can't run like big stuff with super high graphics settings, but I can play almost anything I would want to on that. And that's a pretty weak machine, and I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't 1,500. I think I got it on sale still, but like I feel like you can get like a gaming laptop at a fairly affordable rate, more than $500. But like that's kind of my point. Maybe the sunset isn't right now. I'm still just
But are
wondering
you
if there
getting
is
the
one.
same? Like, can you do 4K? Can you get 60 frames per second? Like, I think that like those are the requirements, right? Like to make the 500
right
go
to have-
further.
to have exactly the same experience,
Right.
sure, but okay, but put yourself again, a family with budgetary constraints, and you know, someone wants to play video games. Even like when I say family, even like you're just like a 2-person household, right? You both have work to do, but you both like playing video games. So, and you have high, you know, tight budget constraints. So you're not going to go out and buy a giant rig, whatever. So a PlayStation is an option. That's $500, and it gives you gaming at 4K, 60 frames, and then the suite of games that they have. But you both have work related things that you need to do, so you probably need to invest in a computer anyway, because in the year 2024 it's kind of hard not to. So you're gonna
True.
buy the computer anyway. So instead
See,
of
are
spending
you? Because
500,
every job I've worked, they provided.
every job I've worked, they haven't.
Really?
You know? Yeah, yeah.
I've
So,
always
like,
gotten a work laptop.
okay, sorry, I shouldn't say every job I've worked they haven't. No, that's not true. Like, the job I am at now, they provide computers in the office, and more and more so, like, now we provide like mobile machines for people, especially if they want that. Some people would prefer like a stronger desktop because, you know, they're doing a lot of analytical tasks. But if you want a laptop, you can have that and you can take it with you. So I should edit to say that. But like for me specifically, and I think for a lot of other people, like, you might not stay at the same job. And again, even if like,
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
I'm also talking about people that aren't working like, okay, if you're not in professional services, let's say you work in like, you're working construction, or
Yeah, but
you're
then
working,
do you need a computer?
yes, I would argue strongly
No.
from like a
I think
cultural
most people
economic
use their
standpoint.
phone.
I think a lot of people do use their phone, but I think that there are still certain things, like, I mean, I guess I can like survey people and find out, but I think at the end of the day, okay, so like, well, and okay, the strength of the phone has gotten to the point where it can do a lot of tasks that obviously the phone couldn't do before. But I mean, like, let's take need out of the equation for a second. Like, let's soften the language and back to the family with budget constraints. And it's like, you can buy a PlayStation, $500, or you know that like you're gonna want to have the ability to, like, let's say have something that you can like sit down together and watch movies on, or also have something so that you know that you can, hey, let's say you might want to look for another job, so you want a competent machine that you can, you know, just do all of those basic tasks on, right? So you can get the PlayStation and then get a very weak machine, or just rely on your phones. Or if you like, you have a little more overhead than that, if you're already planning on buying a computer of some type, maybe like a small $300 like little thing, you combine that with the $500 you might spend on the PlayStation, and then maybe try to target a little more over that, and then find a good machine on sale, and get like a decently strong gaming laptop by not buying the PlayStation. Like, do the numbers work out right now? I don't know, maybe not, but the technology, just like hardware technology, generally speaking, keeps getting better, to the point that the affordability of high performance has gone down. And if it continues to, like, do you need the place? I don't know. I can foresee a situation where like you don't really need it anymore. Maybe not, but
I still think that I agree with you. I think maybe at some point, absolutely. Like, and I do see that, like, I was always a console gamer growing up. Like, when I was a kid, the computer was for work. You didn't play games on it. You weren't allowed to. Well, until I was like, in my teens or whatever. But even by then, I was like kind of like hardcore gaming, and like especially with the online gaming and like Xbox Live and stuff like that was where it was to be. So I do see now like the PC can do so much more, so much easier, so much stronger, so much faster. And it's so much more its utilization is also outside of gaming, like you said, for email, for work, for whatever. They're like, yes, I think like ultimately, let's say consoles always stay about $500. A $500 gaming rig may someday surpass the technical requirements or that a console currently has. But I will say that, like, to get a 4K 60 frame per second machine to play games and only spend $500 is really, to me, that's a really good deal.
Yeah, no, and like I agree. I think it is still a good deal. I don't see, like, the PlayStation 5 made sense to me that it happened from like both from the financials of the company of Sony, and also from the actual demand in the market. PlayStation 6 probably still completely viable and actually useful in the market, but at some point after that, I don't know. It seems like the dedicated market for those things, for the consoles, is shrinking. I think
you work for
overall
Nintendo.
Market share.
I think you work for Nintendo, because I think they probably had this exact conversation, and they're like, how do we stay relevant as a console? Let's have a gimmick. You can't carry around your computer everywhere.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
you
it's-
can with the Steam Deck. But before you couldn't. Why don't we make our console carryable? Like, then people will still be obligated to buy it or like want to buy it, even if like a PC is better, because now you
I would
have
say
this
like
gimmick where you get to carry
the
it
main
around.
thing. I wouldn't say not just gimmick. The main thing that really sells consoles typically are exclusives.
I mean, I bought my PS5. Well, somebody actually bought it for me, but I got the PS5. I wanted a PS5 because of Demon Souls. That's it.
Yeah.
100%
Exactly
it. I've
it.
never played Demon Souls. I love the Souls franchise. I wanted to play Demon Souls. I didn't want to emulate the original one. That was it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I really wanted. So like I loved
Returnal's
both.
cool.
I loved both Horizon games. I think that they did get a PC release, but like, I
That's
think
usually
that
like
was,
years and years later.
yeah. That's at least why I had like part of the reason I had a PlayStation 4 was for the first Horizon game.
And then
PlayStation
I know,
4, Bloodborne.
Yeah.
initially the remake Final Fantasy was console exclusive until like maybe like a year or two later it became like a PC port. And I think this one too, Rebirth, right, is also console exclusive for right now.
That's
I didn't
that's
know
kind of like their new model, which is console exclusive for like the first release, and then like 6 months later, oh, now everyone gets it.
Yeah. I guess that model works.
Yeah. I mean, dude, gamers, like, for some reason, there's a huge, like, I have to be first.
Yeah.
Especially in Twitch, but, like, even outside of that. I have to be the first one to beat it. I have to be the first one to play this game. But, I mean, like, even, like, I was guilty of it as a kid and a teenager. Midnight releases, I had, you know, like, I wanted to be there when Halo 2 came out. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to get my copy so I could play Halo 2. Now, like, there was limited copies, so there was, like, kind of motivation there. But it's also, like, so you could be, like, when you're the kid at the Commons, you know, on Monday, you could be like, hey, man, I played all weekend. What were you doing, you know?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
So we're stupid. We're panicky, stupid animals. I'm back to that. Full circle.
Full circle around the block. I did say that I think I did say that the main title was supposed to be like ESRP, but I was mostly referring to that as an entryway into like what we want to discuss about mainly, which is pretty much just publishers, self-publishing, stuff like that, and then like just us ranting for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the discussion that comes out of it because it does bring up the idea of like, is this thing still going to be relevant when it comes to, I guess, consoles around the time? Because I remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like, or even a month back. The reason why people got PS2s back then because not only can it play video games, it could also be a DVD player. At the time, where a DVD player
huge.
by itself was
the same cost. Yeah.
same cost, maybe even a little bit more. Couldn't even play games, you just play DVDs. And they're usually just way too expensive. And the more affordable option was just to play the DVD on a PS2 when it played great.
Dude, the PS2 was so cool. I love that. It's my favorite console. I love that console.
Probably one of them revolutionary, honestly.
Yeah, man.
Lots of games on there. In terms of that, though, like, God, information comes out. When you wait like 2 weeks, a lot of good information is good to talk about. But I do miss like the weekly sometimes, and then it's just mostly scheduling conflict. But
Yeah.
in terms of that, though, like, yeah, it's crazy the stuff that happens in the past 2 weeks, and outside of like new games coming out and stuff, like just gaming news in general, brings up good topics to talk about in terms of what's to look forward to. And then the funny thing is just all of it comes back to people are stupid or idiots. Or
Well,
we're stupid.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I just ranted for like 20 minutes, and I just realized, like, and my ranting for 20 minutes was how consoles are still viable and may be viable in the future in terms of like what their affordability and what they bring for their specs and stuff. And I just look behind me, and all I have are consoles behind me. So like, of course, it's me. Like, oh,
Yep.
I just
Mr. Console.
add up all the money over here, like, and be like, of course, consoles are viable. Like,
And look at that nice paperweight on the top shelf.
I just moved that back up there. I'm playing Bloodborne right now on it,
Oh,
but and my GameCube's right next to me.
nice.
Yeah,
But that
I
Star
don't-
Wars game is actually kind of fun. I didn't
I'll
want to
Fall
like.
in Order. It's not bad.
Yeah, I always heard bad things about it. I always heard like
I mean, I think
there's been some like visual errors and stuff,
Yeah.
and like
when it first came out, the technical a lot of technical stuff was really bad. There's just a lot of like faults, glitching, literally just passing through floors, getting partially stuck in floors, trying to mantle ledges and then just like being on the opposite side of them. The animations of like, you know, you would shimmy, like grab like a rope or a pipe or whatever and shimmy above you, but like the hands wouldn't touch the pipe. Like they just like kind of like float above
I think I've seen Hob
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
So there are a lot of like really messy, like, hey, you know, guys, you know, I get it. No game comes out perfect, but you know, it seemed very, very much that model of we need to hit internal deadlines, release the game now, knowing that it is faulty, and get some money in from purchases, and then see how much we can commit to making the game not crap. Which upsets people, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like not only are people stupid, as we talked about, including us, but people who love particular IPs are, in my opinion, like the stupidest. Like they'll just buy it because it's Star Wars, and then like they'll complain about it. Don't get me wrong, but they'll buy the next Star Wars thing because it's Star Wars. So
Don't worry,
true.
we all do that for some IP that we refer to.
everyone does, and it could be as stupid as like peanut butter. Like you could literally be like, I've had Jif my entire life, and that's all I eat is Jif. You know what I mean? Like, and that's
Exactly. Oh well. I mean, I'm a little curious to see what happens in the relative week coming up. We will.
I want to play that game on May 9th.
Oh yeah, the like
Clown
FF7
College.
horror one.
Oh, Crow Country.
Crow Country. I think I'm gonna play that.
Nice. You
Definitely, I'll definitely keep an eye out for you playing that, and then I'll try to remind each other about what game we're gonna choose for us to play.
Or
well.
should we all play the same game?
That's
If
hard.
it's like a newer game that none
No,
of
I
us
don't want to
have
spend
played.
any money. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
I'm definitely not spending any
It'd
money.
be like an emulated game if we needed
Okay.
to or something. Do you know what?
Or
Okay,
a
I was
super
thinking
cheap
about playing
game,
this.
you know?
Would you guys want to play with me?
When I said newer game, I wasn't talking about like going out and like some AAA. I was talking about like something from like the Steam $2 bucket or something
Oh,
like that.
I mean, maybe.
But,
So
like-
here's something that's on my docket. It's I've never beaten Super Metroid.
Oh,
Would you guys
Oh.
want to play through with me?
maybe. I have beaten Super Metroid. It's
I've
been
also
a very,
beaten
very
it
long
too.
time.
But yeah, I don't remember. I think the last time I played it was back in like 2020.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't
Maybe,
want. I wouldn't mind.
maybe.
maybe we'll see.
I wouldn't
We'll
even mind
connect, but
replaying the
that's
game
something
again.
on my docket.
Yeah.
Very much.
We'll figure something out.
You're on the Metroidvania kick right now.
Dude, I'm just trying to like, I guess like give it a good shot.
Yeah, learn to
You know
like
what I
them.
mean?
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because people love them. People
Yeah.
love them, and I'm just trying to figure it out.
I get it. I get it.
It
But people love
scratches an itch.
randomizers. I think I've decided I'm not a randomizer guy. I can't do them.
Huh. That's interesting. Because didn't you play Link to the Past as a randomizer before?
I've only ever played it.
You've
as
only
random.
ever played Link to the Past randomized.
But I will say, if I was gonna do randomizer, it would be that. It
Yeah.
would be that. Like,
Yeah.
that game is.
Because I remember you did some for Ocarina of Time, and that one didn't look so fun for
It
you.
that one's rough, but it's not so bad. Now
the
that I
right
kind of know
settings.
where everything is, it's like
Yeah.
not too bad. It's really just like more time consuming than anything else.
yeah. It takes a while to get around
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
yeah.
And Link to the
very
Past
much
is
so.
way much shorter. You got dash
It's
boots as well.
like built to be
flute.
randomized. It feels like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you find the duck, you find swag duck, and then boom, you're just like flying everywhere.
mhm.
It's-
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And in terms of that, though, but yeah, we'll think of something in terms of like what to play. I think I might have a couple things. That,
So either all different or all playing the
all
same,
the
but
same,
we'll try to
right.
like I
Yeah.
guess come up with a genre or like
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll figure
like
something out.
a theme, and then we can go from there.
We'll figure
Right.
something out.
I think from our last thing pretty much seemed like it was like platformer.
No,
Even-
well, what Ian tied in, it was like a game from our childhood that we thought was good that no one else did.
Oh yeah,
was
that
the
was
theme.
that was the theme. Yeah,
But
yeah,
Vectorman was
lot
good,
of-
so I'm surprised people don't think Vectorman's good.
I think people think. I don't think people dislike Vectorman. It really was more. I think we were just picking
Like a
games based on like,
sleeper.
yeah, like what was a game from our childhood that like we loved, and you know, and then we what we ended up doing, I think, was the games that were less popular just because we were trying to find something that the rest of us hadn't played.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, if I wanted to give you the like, what game did I love from my childhood that everyone
Echo the
hates?
Dolphin.
Yeah, easily Echo the Dolphin every time.
Here we go. Oh well, we'll figure something out, and
I've
then
never played that, so maybe.
we'll figure something out, and then we'll come back to it next week. Well, hopefully next week if none of us gets like time constraint or anything like that. I think other than that, you guys want to wrap up with anything else before we wrap up? Oh, I guess our question.
Well,
Oh yeah, our question.
I have a question for you guys, but I can ask it off stream. or
Yeah,
off
no,
recording.
if it's something that a little bit different, yeah, sure.
Too spicy for the air.
No, it's not spicy at all. It's just like way off topic.
Yeah, just ask us later. But the question for, I guess, the audience.
I came up with the last one, so it's yours.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I was
Uh-oh.
trying to remember. Let's see. I guess I would just go off based off our last topic that we're talking. Do you think consoles are losing its what's it called?
Relevance, market
Relevancy?
share. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Do you think consoles are even worth upholding nowadays to their standards, or even worth owning nowadays? I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question because it's like, yeah, how much do you care anymore? And people have been, I think that's a good question. Just like, is the console what consoles are still relevant to you and why and
Yeah.
and will they be?
Yeah, I think Jackson did maybe for me my answer it for me, which is like the exclusivity. Like that is the reason why. You know, if I want to
Right.
play Zelda, I have to own Nintendo. I can't get that on PC.
Or
Mhm.
Mario.
Yeah,
it's-
or anything,
it's just-
right? Like, and Sony has been more receptive towards PC
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
that like that new model that we talked about, which is like later releasing.
Except for Bloodborne.
And Microsoft literally runs on PC, so like they're totally about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like Nintendo's the one that's just gonna be like the. I don't think they'll ever play ball. You know,
No.
I'm not in our lifetime.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, I think that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Dialogue Mash. If you like our podcast, this is also going to be a locally recorded video podcast. So we'll check out the YouTube version of this. We'll have a link down in the description for the audio version, and on the YouTube side of stuff, if you want to listen to our older podcast that we haven't done any video recording for before, and you want to check out the old stuff, hey, I'll put a link down in the description below in the YouTube format. And with that, though, this has been Dialogue Mash. I've been your main host, Jackson. I'm doing all right for a main host, but as usual, with me to my right is John, and down below me is Ian. And this has been Dialogue Mash, and we are signing out.